Hey, welcome to the Huntsville Hustle Podcast, where we share stories of grit, growth, and greatness here in Huntsville small business scene. Today, we have Nathaniel Aloysius Wake, Esquire III, a criminal defense and personal injury attorney with the Wake Law Firm. Hey, Nate, welcome to the show. I thought I'd spice your name up a little bit for you.
There you go. I appreciate that, Joe.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you coming on. So I wanted to have you on because I think people kind of forget that lawyers are basically small business owners as well. So they go on both sides. I thought people might find that interesting. So let's just take it back. Why'd you start practicing law in the first place?
To help people. Really, one of the inspiring things to me was seeing the movie A Time to Kill with Matthew McConaughey. Just the passion and everything that was involved, the expert skills he displayed, and trying to help somebody who was in a terrible position kind of led me in that regard. Also wanted to do environmental law, which I still have not done, but maybe one day I'll get to.
There you go. So I know we all have people that have influenced us along the way. So who was a good mentor or role model for you coming up?
My mom was never a lawyer, but just how she lived and lives her life, being a good person, helping people, just being kind, honest. Just the example she has set and continues to set really influenced my life. There is a bunch of different attorneys that have helped me along the way. I'd hate to leave any out, but probably the one I call on the most would be Jerry Barclay. He's an attorney here in Huntsville. He handles probate work, criminal defense. He serves as a judge at some municipalities. He's just really omniscient, all-knowing, always there to answer my phone call, and a heck of a guy. I really appreciate him. Tons of other people, though, different areas of law have helped me along. Really just encouragement, being able to bounce ideas or questions off other attorneys really helps. People call me, I call other people, but they're countless folks. But just to name a few: Judge Bruce Williams, Judge Ron Smith, Chris Maservi, Eric Wood, Chad Morgan, Hunter Garnett, Robert Patterson, Mike Blaylock, many others. Though it's a really good community here in Huntsville for attorneys as far as helping each other out, calling each other. I don't feel like there is as much pressure as there are in other places like Birmingham, where I previously practiced, to kind of compete for cases. So it's a little more laid back here. There's plenty of cases and clients to go around. So everybody's pretty helpful. It's a great place to practice.
It's awesome, man. That's the way it should be. That's what this podcast is all about, just helping each other out. That's what it's all about. So you've been doing this for a while. So you've been practicing law for a while. You got in it and you're passionate about it. What keeps you still passionate about criminal defense and also the personal injury side?
I would say something that was really a good shot in the arm for me recently on the criminal defense side was that I got a call from a former client that I hadn't heard from in about 13, 14 years. He was in jail the last time I saw him, but we ended up working out the situation, I believe, where his cases were dismissed and he was released. But he was kind of down and out at the time, but he called me recently and he's doing really well. He said he laid off controlled substances since then and turned his life around, and he was doing well. He's working for a construction company. He mentioned kind of a turning point was being in a jail, and being an author yourself, you appreciate this. I'm not an author, but I'd give him a book by Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, which kind of teaches you not to worry about the past because that can give you depression, or not to worry about the future because that can give you anxiety. Focus on the power of now, because usually right now things are pretty good, and just kind of changing his mindset and taking his brain to a different place, I think had a good influence on him. So we've been staying in touch since we've reconnected, and it's just really good to hear somebody doing well. So that was good. As far as personal injury, that's somewhat of a new endeavor for me. So it's going to be another way for our firm to help people. And, life comes at you hard sometimes. It can knock all of us off our feet. Sometimes we can get up ourselves, but when somebody's presented with a lawsuit, they're all of a sudden they're in a situation when they're in a lawsuit. Often they need a lawyer to help pick them up and guide them through kind of tough time.
That's good. That's so rewarding. Just know this guy that you had an influence on. Didn't just not just his case, but beyond that as well. So I love that philosophy of I look at it as the win philosophy. What's important now? That's kind of how I look at things. Like, what's the next step? So not, hey man, we can't worry about the past. Nothing to do about that now. What steps can I take? So that's awesome. You helped him out with that. Just beyond the case. So kind of in that same vein, is there a case along the years that kind of had a bigger impact on you as well, like that one?
You know, those type stories are very rewarding where a client turned into kind of a mentoree and we stayed in touch, and some have become friends and even consider family at this point. But one in which I kind of saw the impact it can have, the ripple effect it can have, was a drug trafficking case from several years ago where my client had several prior felony charges, and he was charged with a Class A felony, so he was looking at a life sentence. The prosecutor had offered him a 20-year sentence as a plea offer. He was about our age, so he was not wanting to go sit down for approximately 20 years and kind of considering that a life sentence, so he wanted a trial. So we were working on his case and went to see him on that Friday. We had a trial on Monday, and so I went to see him on that Friday to discuss a few things, and I let him know I'm going to be preparing for his case all weekend, and we went over some things that day, but he asked if there's anything else he could do. I was like, well, don't lose faith, lift up some prayers, and if you're a believer, and just lift up and have a positive attitude that good things can happen. And so spent the weekend preparing, kept emailing the prosecutor. The prosecutor had a real hard stance on 20-year sentence, but kept emailing them over the weekend, kind of some technical issues with their case. And anyways, didn't hear back from the prosecutor. I showed up to court. I had a suit and tie ready for my client, and I walked in the courtroom. The prosecutor wasn't there. My client wasn't there, and the judge was handling another hearing. Anyways, when they finished the hearing, she called me up. Mr. Wake, why are you here? I'm like, well, Judge, we're second up for trial. I'm just, where's everybody? And she said, well, did Mr. So-and-so, the prosecutor, not tell you that he dismissed the case this morning? I was like, wow, no. And so the prosecutor, I guess, had seen some of the kind of technical issues over the week. Anyways, long story short, he dismissed the case. I went to go see my client at the jail, and he was kind of huffing and puffing, and why wasn't I in court? Did you continue my case without asking me? I'm like, I've got some really good news for you, sir. Your case has been dismissed. You're free to go. And, he couldn't believe me, and he just started thanking me so much. And I wanted to redirect him at that time. And I said, sir, I tried my best, but to God goes the glory. You prayed about this. This was somewhat out of our hands, but, something reached the prosecutor, and, you've got a second chance in life, and just try and, go down a little better road and use this moving forward, but to God goes the glory. And so the really neat part, I know this is kind of a long story, but the really neat part was, so he's walking down the hallway after we get done talking, and there's a little walkway between where we meet and where the dorm is anyway. So he just starts yelling, God is great. God is great. Case dismissed. God is great. So he walks in that room, and Joe, it was like somebody hit a 3-pointer at the Final Four. Just the whole crowd just went, God is great. God is great. It was just seeing the ripple effect of, I don't know whatever happened to that gentleman. I hope he's doing much better. I hope that was a turning point in his life. But he did let me know that he had kind of gotten away from his faith a long time ago, and that this was going to be a turning point to get him there. So just an opportunity every once in a while to try and pick someone up and maybe remind them that there's a higher power out there that cares about them too, and try and do our best to head down that righteous path.
There you go, man. That's above and beyond right there. That's awesome, man. That's a great story that, hey, you get a second chance, you got to make the most of it, but you got to at least got to play a part in that second chance. That's got to be super rewarding. So kind of winding it back a little bit, why did you decide to branch out on your own? So you could have worked with tons of law firms. Why just your own?
Joe, I wish I could say it was 100% my decision. I worked for a couple firms right out of law school, one in Tuscaloosa and then another one in Birmingham. And I actually went out on my own in Birmingham after a layoff. It was 2006, 2007. I was working at a mass torts class actions firm, multi-state firm, very prominent firm, Birmingham office, New York, Times Square office, blah, blah, blah. But they got, I think, a little bit of financial trouble and they laid 8 attorneys off, in 2 weeks. And I was one of those attorneys. Anyways, I don't know if you remember those times, but we were kind of going through a recession at that time. I wanted to stay in Birmingham at that time. And Birmingham firms weren't really hiring, at least doing anything I was interested in doing. And at that point, I just kind of took a leap of faith and decided I wanted a little more control of my career. I wanted to be able to actually litigate and meet with clients, be in court, argue cases. And, it's turned out to be a blessing. There were some events which later happened, which led me to move home to the mother Huntsville. And here we are.
Yeah. Hey, man, it's meant to be. Sometimes these things they gotta happen to put you where you're supposed to be. So it's just kind of those bad things in your life can kind of put you in the right direction. So I mentioned it earlier that you're basically running a small business, but how do you kind of balance running the business side while also focus on your client needs and the cases and all the things you have going on?
I would say one of the best moves I ever made in that regard would be hiring office manager. It's not a full-time employee, but it's someone that comes in one day a week, and she's been working with me for 12, 13 years now. I would encourage small businesses not to look past that option because there's a lot of people that are retired accountants or getting back in the workforce after raising kids, so on and so forth, where they would love an opportunity just to work a little bit every week and kind of get out of the house. But that's been really good. I try and my schedule's kind of hectic during the week. I've got court most mornings and early afternoons, and so have to squeeze in some client meetings after those court hearings. And so a lot of times more transactional type stuff. I come back at night, but having a office manager, even though it's super part-time, has really been a benefit in that, she keeps me on my toes and make sure I'm up to date on taxes, up to date on bills, so on and so forth. I would just try not to take everything on yourself if you can.
Yeah. My first year in business, I didn't hire an accountant, I tried to do it all myself. And then I basically just gave all my money right back to Uncle Sam. I was like, man, I got to get some help. I don't know what's going on. Like I can do push-ups and squats, but this other stuff, I don't know, man. So yeah, definitely hire. Make that your first hire. I think that's a good use of your money right there. So you mentioned something earlier about how the lawyers are pretty cooperative around here and collaborative and things like that. What else makes Huntsville a good place to practice law?
Well, I think our court systems and all the court personnel are excellent. The magistrates, the clerks, the judges assistants, all the way down. Prosecutors are somewhat fair, usually, generally, sometimes, but just everybody's we're all in this together. Like I said, it doesn't seem like there's quite the strain that there was in Birmingham as far as competition. When I moved back here about 13 or so years ago, of course, the numbers have changed, but back then I believe there were 7,000 active attorneys in the Birmingham area. There were only 700 here in Huntsville. And even back then, there wasn't that much of a difference, a 10 times difference in populations. There's just, it's kind of, I don't mean in a derogatory term toward the attorneys, but it's just a lot of people fetching after crumbs in Birmingham where there's just a lot more availability of clients here.
So there are several lawyers in town though. So what makes your law firm different?
There's a lot of great attorneys and law firms here. I think each of them has their kind of pros and minuses. If I could say something about us is that we're going to put our whole heart and soul into your case, and we're going to get to know you and be able to present that, whether it's at a trial or in a negotiation with the other side. We're going to be able to present that very well. And one recommendation I'd have to folks is just make sure you know when you're approaching a law firm that who exactly is going to be handling your case and in court and with the negotiations, and just make sure you actually talk to that person before you decide to hire that firm or that lawyer. But there's a lot of great lawyers in town. I think we all lean on each other sometimes, and it's I think very good legal environment here.
There you go. But do they all have a pocket square like you? I mean, you're rocking that thing, my friend.
Man, Joe, you got to have one of these in case things don't go too well and somebody starts crying.
Hey, you got to be ready. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So who makes a good referral partner for your business?
Anybody that refers me some business. Just kidding. No, I would say probably the best and the one that makes me feel the best would be former clients that refer you because you've done a good job for them. But friends, family members, other people in the community that you come across, other attorneys, just anybody, but probably the ones that I get the most often from, since I don't really advertise at this point, would be former clients.
It's always the biggest compliment, right? You treated them right and they want to pass it on. That's the best compliment they can give you. So, I'm sure you've learned some lessons as a business owner. What's one thing you wish you would have learned besides, hiring the business manager? Is there anything else you wish you would have learned right away?
Get your infrastructure set up, whether it is whatever facet that is for your particular business. But you alluded to Uncle Sam before and stole a little bit of my thunder there. But Uncle Sam comes hard at you, as you know, for those taxes. I had no idea I was going to be taxed to employ people, and that was pretty surprising. But when it comes to taxes, Uncle Sam's a lot like Debo in that movie Friday. The neighborhood bully he's going to come for your money, for your chain, for your bike, and just be ready to pay a lot more in taxes than you expect.
Man, that's a huge lesson. I think we all you learn that one once. And then you get help. That's a one. You see Debo come through next time, you're hiding when he comes through. So, or you get Craig out there to take care of it for you. So, is there a habit or routine that has helped you become successful along the way?
Never giving up. Understanding you're going to have setbacks. Like I alluded to before, my mom just always set such a great example. She had some maybe unfair challenges thrown at her in life, and she just was always so strong and resilient, and just continuing to be kind to people. Sometimes, as you know, through your different businesses, you interact with a lot of people. Everybody has a bad day. Somebody might snap at you. Just do your best to kind of be a calming force and just empathetic that we all have an off day. But just the main lesson I would say, and the main habit, is hard work and never giving up.
I think that's so important. I think especially now there's a big problem with kids these days that they give up earlier than they used to. So, I mean, I work with a lot of kids, and that's why I see a lot that, that resiliency isn't there. And it's so important. I don't care what you're going to do in life. Just, you're going to have setbacks. You mentioned that before. What do you do now? If you always give up, that's a habit as well. But for you, man, just not giving up has become a habit, and that's propelled you to where you are today, because law is not easy. Anyone's ever been kind of behind the scenes in the law game, it's not easy to keep going, and here you are years later. So who in the business community do you admire? Is there a local business owner you admire?
Well, I'd certainly say everything you're doing through your boot camp over the years to help and uplift people. Your mentorship program, I think, is you're a direct conduit from God to helping these young people. And I know like me, you've used some of your life experiences to help guide some people, encourage people through your mentorship, your book, and now your podcast, and trying to shine a light on some businesses. So, businesses and people that are uplifting people. Other ones, I'd say Amy Bailey and her team over at Huntsville Magazine are really kind of trying to lead by example with showing kind of a healthier lifestyle and some good beautiful natural things like gardening and other, nice things to enjoy in life and enjoy about Huntsville. Revel events, they put on events such as the Cultural Festival, where they bring all sorts of different people together, not just cultural festival, but different events, and bring people of, Huntsville's quite a melting pot, and they do a good job of bringing all of our different people together and to have a good time. One that probably has the most profound effect on me would be uh, Rose of Sharon Soup Kitchen. Teresa Wilson, the director over there, has done a great job. She's been over there for a while now, but she really turned that charity around and has been doing just God's work over there, helping people. They serve 2 hot meals a day, I believe. Still, they've always been really worship centered, and talk about hands on, man. She's just, I call her an angel with a megaphone. She's just such a great leader, but she's got one of the biggest hearts you'll ever meet. And I do want to continue to plug them. I know they've been having a little bit of a tough time financially and been expressing that on their social media. So Rose of Sharon Soup Kitchen, if anybody's looking for a charity to get involved with, whether with your hands or with your donations, I can't say enough good things about them. But there's many, many more. That's just a few that come to mind. And once again, brother, thank you for what you're doing.
Oh, absolutely, man. I feel like I was fishing for a compliment now. I'm like, well, you don't eat business owners you've known for like 40 years. But yeah, the Rose Sharon, they're filling such a need out there that people need to come alongside them, help them out. We definitely need to keep them as part of Huntsville. They're filling a need that, man, just feeding people. I consider that the Lord's work right there myself. So that's awesome. Go help them out. Like I said, go volunteer. If you got a teenager and you want to see them, go show them something like that. It's so important for kids to see things like that as well. So what's next for the Wake Law Firm, man?
Well, going to continue to do what we're doing, trying to help people in all the different areas of practice, but going to try and build the personal injury practice up a little more, and actually hired a new paralegal. Or paralegal in training. She's going to come start training with us, and another person who I've known a very long time. She's got a huge heart, and just bringing that helpful, uplifting, caring sentiment to this firm, and we're just all in this together as a community here in Huntsville. You know that you're a great example of making great things happen in that regard, and so we're just gonna try and keep helping people and doing what we do, brother.
That's it, man. So here's a question that people really want to know: when's the next album coming out?
It's a funny question because when we were talking about when I opened my firm, that's the last time I actually did an album was when I'd been laid off, and I had a little extra time on my hands when I was figuring out what to do. But I'm working on a few different musical projects now. One with my mom, working on some songs with my brother, and then some solo songs here too. But we got to find some time, brother. Maybe a home studio would help me out a little more getting that done. Thank you for mentioning that.
Oh yeah, man. Let us know. I don't know if they have CDs anymore, but I'll buy a CD.
I've got quite a few of the last one. If you need another one.
Yeah, I'll buy that, and then I need to buy a CD player too. I don't think I have one of those. So man, I know if people want to work with you and they find out more about you, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
Just give my office a call, 256-270-9988. Don't wait. Call Nate.
Oh, look at that, man. You right at the very end, you got that in. That was very nice. So, hey, man, appreciate you coming on here, Nate, doing out there, just helping people beyond the law, helping them as people as well. That's a cool thing. They're not just a number at your office, not just a name. They're a person. So I appreciate what you do out there. And I appreciate you guys listening this week. Please turn in next week. Keep supporting local, and see you next week on the Huntsville Hustle Podcast.